When I was in high school, I ran track. And before every meet, our coach would have us lay down and do a visualization exercise. We would lay down and get as comfortable as possible, try to relax every part of our body, and close our eyes and picture ourselves running the race we were about to run. Think about the starting line, what it was going to feel like. We'd take off and bring ourselves through the entire race. Even when I ran cross country, we did the same thing, and those were 3-mile races. We do this visualization exercise to bring ourselves all the way through. And especially in the tough parts, when we knew there was going to be a hill on the course, I'd visualize myself running up that hill and having the strength and energy to get through it, and then to finish strong and to finish exactly how I wanted to finish. Then I'd get up after that visualization and run the race. And it was amazing what the strength of that was. A lot of distance running is a mental game, and I know that that visualization helped me to spiritually create what it was I wanted in that race, and to give me the courage to continue on even when it was really, really hard. What our coach was doing for us was vision casting, and that's what we need to be doing with our children. It's actually a huge part of what we do as parents is, and it's not an easy part, because we see the day-to-day. We see our kids when they're struggling. We see when their room is a mess. We see when their work is a mess. We see when they are not able to overcome the roadblocks that they're facing. And a lot of times as a parent, I lose sight of the vision that I have for them. I can't see past where they are right now to where I know they have this potential, but I lose sight of the vision. And a lot of times they lose sight of it too. So we're going to talk today about what do we do when our children are discouraged, when we are tired and spent and ready to throw in the towel and not sure if we can keep going. That is a skill of parent. It's so much our work as parents and as mentors is being able to vision cast. And so we're going to talk about 4 steps to be able to do that today. The first step for vision casting for our children is to love and believe in them right now. Exactly how they are, with the mess and the struggles and the mistakes. This means listening to them, hearing them. For some children, it means a huge hug, just being there. For others, it just means being quiet, letting them know that you're here when they need you. One of our children, when he was a teenager, he had quite a few struggles, and he had lost sight of his vision, and we had lost sight of his vision. We could only see the muddle and the mess that he was in, the mistakes and the discouragement and the sadness, the pain, and the poor choices. Oh, the poor choices. So hard. So hard. I was trying to do those things. I was trying to be there with him, let him know that I loved him, because I did. But I didn't fully love him. I was still frustrated and sometimes even angry for the poor choices that he was making. He wasn't following our advice. He wasn't following what he knew he should do. I remember there was one point that was a turning point in our relationship when my husband came to me and said, Amy, he can feel the angst that you have inside. He can feel that you're not okay with him, that you haven't forgiven him, that you're upset with him, even though you're saying all the right things. That was really hard to hear, but it was true. I wasn't fully loving him in my heart. I was doing the outward things, but I wasn't forgiving him for past mistakes and for present mistakes. I wasn't forgiving myself. And that was blocking him and me from being able to move forward. And so that marked a turning point where I started to make an effort to change, to really put all my effort into loving him, believing in him, and seeing him for who he really was inside. It wasn't overnight. It wasn't easy because the mistakes were still there. He was still making poor choices. I didn't change it. There was a few things that I did. I had my regular journal, and in the back of that, I had a few pages where I had a section just for him. It was my positive journal for him. And every night I would write at least one great thing that he had done, or just a good thing. Maybe he had said something nice to his little brother. Maybe he had not said something mean to me. And some days I really struggled to find something good that he had done that I had seen. And those days I'd look back over the past week and see some other good things that he had done, and it would help me to remember who he was and to focus on the good that helped me to love him and to keep that in the forefront. You can also do some visualization to help you love, like my coach did, to be still and to think of who they really are. When we are able to love and believe in our children, we're able to then move on to the next step. And that second step is to rebuild the vision. And that is to allow ourselves to dream. This step is hard for me too. It's not tangible. It's not real yet. I'm a super practical person. I want to see things. I want to know the exact steps. I want to know how it's going to happen. And I want to see it happening. In dreaming, it hasn't happened yet. And so we have to allow ourselves to see what we can't see, what our child can't see. When we have a child who isn't able to read yet, a child who is struggling to write a paper, to be able to see what hasn't happened yet, that is dreaming. That is rebuilding the vision. The third step is to apply the first two steps to ourselves in our own lives. When we're vision casting for our children, we need to be doing those same things for ourselves. James Allen said in As a Man Thinketh, that it is not just what we want that we attract, but who we are. Our children know what it is that we're doing, and they see that, and we need to be the example for them. So we go back to those two steps. That means we love ourselves. We believe in ourselves right now, exactly as we are, with the mess, with the mistakes. And we allow ourselves to dream. We allow ourselves to have vision. What is it that you want? What is a goal that you have for your life? Allow yourself to dream, not just for your children, but for yourself. I like to think of the analogy with the oxygen mask in the airplane. We've all sat through those demonstrations where they pull down that mask and they tell us that make sure to put it on your child first before you put it on yourself first, before you put it on your child. Because if you put it on them first, you might pass out in the process and both of you lose it. Both of you lose sight of that vision. It's so important for us to put it on ourselves. And I think as parents, and especially as homeschool parents, we're really quick to sacrifice and to give everything for our children. And that's who we are. And that is some of our greatness. And we have to remember that our children need us to be whole and to be happy. And that means we love ourselves and have a strong sense of our vision. So that's the third step, is to do the first two steps for ourselves. The fourth step is to share the vision with our child. We have worked to love and believe in them. We have a strong sense of that vision, and we're doing it in our own lives. And now it's our chance to take a step into the darkness and take their hand and guide them to see this vision, to bring them to where you see they can go. This is when the real spiritual eyes of our mentoring comes in, for us to know when to do this, to know how to do this, to know sometimes just what their next right step is, and that's what they need for their next step in their vision. It's helping them to overcome the mental roadblocks that they have, that are the barriers that are preventing them from moving forward. How do we do that? How do we help them? How do we actually do the sharing of this vision with them? When I think about this step, I think about one of my heroes, sports hero from the 1980s. His name is Herb Brooks, and he took the U.S. Olympic hockey team to what's been called the greatest sports moment in the 20th century. Amazing man. He was, when he first applied for the job as the hockey coach of the U.S. Olympic team, he met with the other Olympic leaders, and you kind of have to understand the history of what was going on in hockey at that time, and even a history of what was happening in the world. The Soviet Union and many of the Soviet bloc countries were dominating the sport. The Soviet Union had not been beat for 20 years in the Olympics. They were unbelievably good. Their skill, their ability to work as a team, their coaching was just unbelievable. And as he was applying as a coach, he said, if I'm going to coach this team, I'm going to do it differently. I'm not going to do it like we've done in the past. We can't beat them because we've tried in the past with our methods and they don't work. But he also came in with a strong vision. He believed that he could put together a team that could beat the Soviet Union. He had that strong belief. He also had a great love for his players, as he was able to gather the players who had a lot of individual strength, but then together they were this great team. He had a ton of roadblocks and a lot of time when they started to do some exhibition games and did not have success. A lot of times when these players who came from rival colleges were competing against each other within the team for the glory, for the honor. This was back in the day of the Olympics, when the Olympic teams and the Olympic players were amateurs. They were still college players. They were not professionals. Not that it probably would have mattered, because the year before this Olympics, the NHL, the professionals, had lost to the Soviet team. But he was saying, I'm going to take these amateurs, the youngest team in the Olympics, averaged out by their age, and we are going to actually defeat them. 3 days before this match, they had an exhibition game against the Soviet Union. They were slaughtered, just destroyed. Talk about losing your sense of vision, losing your belief, and being down on yourself for the mistakes that you made individually and as a team. Those players were thinking, how are we going to do this? This is the big leagues, and we have no business being here. But the day of the now they're in the Olympics, and they've had a couple of wins, a tie and then a couple of wins, and now they have the chance to play the Soviet Union in the Olympics. This is when it really matters, when the rubber meets the road and when they have a chance to really show what they can do. The thing I love about this coach is that he was able to keep that vision. He said, yes, the odds are against you. Yes, they've already beat you. Yes, you're the youngest ones. You don't have experience. You're not professionals. But this is your time. You've prepared. You've done the work. And I know you can do it. He believed in them. He didn't lose sight of his vision. He knew that they could win. And in that moment, he was able to cast that vision so that they believed it too. And when they got out on the ice, they were able to overcome those mental and physical barriers and do something that hadn't been done for 2 decades. An unbelievable performance. They were able to defeat the Soviet Union, go on to defeat the next team, and win the gold medal in the 1980 Olympics. That coach cast vision. He was the ultimate mentor. He used his spiritual eyes, like each of us can do with our children. Love them, believe in them exactly as they are today, see them who they can become. Do the same for ourselves, and then cast that vision for them.